anticipated match in the history of professional wrestling for the heavyweight championship of the world. Are you ready? Wrestling fans, are you ready?
Pro wrestling broadcast scene every Thursday, produced out of Indie Music TV in Ronkonkoma, New York. This is a Saturday, and if anyone didn't see it, the head-to-head video, that's where we pit these two icons in wrestling, and we say, who is the winner? The Pharaoh's going to read the rules to people. Go ahead, Pharaoh.
Just for the record, by the way, that was Michael Buffer, I heard, right?
That was Michael Buffer.
Michael Buffer, you're an arrogant ass. You can't lick Gary Michael Capetta's jockstrap. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, head-to-head, here we go once again with our Faberific contest. We have the old-school wrestler versus the newer-school wrestler, if you will. Category number 1, mic skills. That should be self-explanatory. How do you communicate with the audience? Are you affluent in your language? Anyway, number 2, mat skills. Once again, should be self-explanatory. Are you Bret Hart or are you Pete Doherty? Oh, my arm. George Steele. Ow.
One of the great moments in wrestling history, by the way.
That was unbelievable, you know. Number 3, overall influence on the industry. What kind of footprints did you leave in this business? Number 4, my personal favorite, the back of the baseball card, as I like to call it. That, of course, is, your championships, your resume, whether you won Royal Rumbles or Money in the Banks, even if you went over to Japan and won something major. And then finally, number 5, the it factor. What kind of aura did you have in your time period? What kind of player were you? What kind of impact did you have on fan reaction and fan attendance? So that's the 5. What do we got, Mike?
Well, let's speak about today's matchup. The former living legend, Bruno Sammartino, versus La Champion, Chris Jericho.
A little bit of the bubbly.
Pharaoh, our first contestant, Mr. Bruno Sammartino.
Bruno Sammartino unfortunately passed away April 18th, 2018. He did make it into his 80s. Of course, the Italian-American legend with 2 absolutely unbelievable world title reigns that will never be repeated. The first reign lasted somewhere around 7 years. The second reign lasted somewhere close to 4 or whatever, 3 and change or whatever exactly it was. But he had 2 reigns with the WWF Heavyweight Championship spanning 4,040 days.
Damn.
He is the living legend. He is the first major guy I saw growing up with his eternally amazing feud with someone who's been on the show, Larry Zbyszko. Bruno Sammartino, to me, is basically Babe Ruth, or as close as you're going to get. Babe Ruth, Cy Young, Ted Williams. You want to go there, whatever you want to call it. That is what Babe Ruth is. That's the Babe. This is rough, man. I'm mad at you. Because you did this with my guy, Jericho. So I'm actually a little sore about this.
This came off a conversation with the Pharaoh we were having earlier in the week, and we weren't even talking about head-to-head, but we were just discussing Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
Now, Chris Jericho is one of the all-time greats.
Yes.
I've never been a huge fan of Jericho. I'm not a fan of him.
I am a huge fan.
But as I'm thinking about head-to-head, I'm like, wow, Jericho can give Sammartino,
yes, he can,
the former living legend,
in this competition, he can give him a run
for his money.
Yep.
So this one is probably a third installment of head-to-head.
This is hard.
Is the toughest one yet.
Yeah.
Even though we had a draw on one of them, this is the toughest one.
Well, we make the matchups interesting, so I'm good with this, but I'm actually still pissed.
What is your most memorable?
You put one of my favorite wrestlers up against Bruno.
What's your memorable moment of Bruno?
It goes back to when, well, for me as a fan, it's when Larry and Bruno were having the match that Larry had challenged. Larry was the student, Bruno was the teacher, and Larry had challenged Bruno to a match just to see if he could hang with him during the match, and they're both good guys. Bruno, for some reason, is releasing holds. He's got Zbyszko and he releases it. He's taking it easy on him, and Larry is getting angrier and angrier. He's like, I want you to fight me. Don't take it easy on me. And you can see him getting angrier. Finally, Larry Zbyszko goes full-fledged heel, grabs a chair, and just beats him bloody. I had never seen anything like that. And in 1980, it wasn't commonplace to see any blood on TV. You had the X over the screen. You know, it was pretty shocking shit. You know, and then of course it climaxed with the Shea Stadium thing. That's my biggest memory of Bruno.
So I came on to wrestling a little bit later. That's where I met Jimmy in junior high.
Right.
My biggest Bruno moment, and it's probably for newer fans too, is when Randy Savage used the ring bell on Ricky Steamboat before WrestleMania 3 and tried to end Ricky Steamboat's career.
Okay.
When Savage goes back into the locker room, Sammartino was an interviewer, and Sammartino starts talking to Savage about how could you do this, and Savage starts gloating on how he's ending this guy's career. Sammartino then loses control, just calls him a piece of trash, drops the microphone, and starts to beat the living shit out of Randy Macho Man Savage.
Right. That was
for me.
That was a great program.
That, you know, we all knew about Bruno, but for me, that's my most memorable moment of Bruno. And he then carried on matches with Bruno within the Boston Garden.
I saw one the other night. It was entertaining as hell.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. Bruno, by the way, was really at the end, and he was still kicking ass. He was still kicking ass. That was a great matchup.
Let's talk about our second contestant, La Champion.
La Champion, Christopher Keith Irvine. Of course, his dad played for the Rangers. Chris Jericho, of course, as he's well known as. My God, man. He's just such a legend. I love this guy. It doesn't matter where he's been. He's always been successful. He's held belts in everywhere he's gone. New Japan, of course. The most important thing about Chris Jericho to me is that he was the first ever undisputed world champion after Vince purchased WCW. We had the Universal title, which represented WCW, the World Heavyweight Championship, and we had the WWE title. And Jericho was the first one to hold both simultaneously. We know what he's done in recent years. I always thought that it was a huge mistake for Vince McMahon to let him go, and now he's become a headache as he is the face pretty much, along with John Moxley of AEW. Chris Jericho, at the time when he was first coming up, had to fight his way through to respectability because he was smaller, or in Vince's eyes, shorter, and he did. He had it hard. And as far as his wrestling skills, he was one of the guys, along with a Rob Van Dam and other guys like that set the bar in a lot of ways for most of the professional wrestlers we see today. I don't know if I should applaud him for this, because now it's gotten out of control where we feel like we're watching dance choreographing. But Jericho was absolutely, it feels that way sometimes, but Jericho was absolutely...
In fact, the fans are saying that right now on our YouTube page.
I agree
right?
with them. It was absolutely...
It's your fault, Jericho.
Well, it's not his fault that other people turned it into a ballet, but Chris Jericho was truly one of the great revolutionary mat guys.
Best Jericho moment?
There's too many. But you know what my favorite moment is? When he debuted with The Rock.
I'll go with you on that,
because the anticipation, the countdown, his name flashes across the screen and you hear a roar. Because it's a Jericho. And then the best part was, Rock is, who in the blue hell are you?
Yeah.
It was unbelievable, but it was so satisfying because I always wanted to see Jericho in a main event level. I knew WCW had mismanaged him and not done right by him. So when I see Jericho and The Rock on the first program in his new company, I'm like, yes, Vince is going to take care of him.
I also give Jericho props for this. He put the business over himself.
Yes.
He was the first guy, I believe, to lose to China.
Right.
For the Intercontinental title. Now, this is a well-established wrestler who's allowing probably the first, and correct me if I'm wrong, fans, the first time a woman to beat a man
for a title.
Right. It probably period, to be honest with you.
Right.
I mean, that in itself alone. All right, so let's get at
Jericho
it.
Jericho gets it.
Mike Skills, Jericho or Sammartino?
Come on, Jericho. Which one?
Mike
Skills?
Jericho, I agree. Jericho taking one over the former living legend.
It's pretty obvious.
Skills.
Jericho.
Wow.
He's got 2.
This could be a blowout, folks.
You
This
cannot
could be a
tell me
blowout.
Bruno Sammartino was a better professional wrestler on the mat than Chris
You're
Jericho.
not hearing
That's silly.
You're not hearing a disagreement with me.
Right. That's just silly. What else?
Overall influence on the industry.
Bruno.
This one we might disagree on.
No way. Bruno. Do you realize how many greats we enjoyed during the Attitude Era who idolized Bruno? You know, we wouldn't have the Triple H's of the world or the Stone Colds we wouldn't have any of them. Bruno.
All right, so we got Jericho 2, Bruno 1.
By the way, and I know what you may be thinking, because Jericho's done so much outside the business, entertainment, blah, 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 blah. Did I ever tell you my first memories of Bruno Sammartino? The first time I saw Bruno Sammartino was on WABC's George Plimpton's Wide World of Sports, where he did a biography on Bruno Sammartino. It was the 70s. By the way, this program would do biographies on Muhammad Ali, Joe Namath, and here's Bruno Sammartino. He was one of the early ones to break the mold for the rest of these guys with television.
JJ says WrestleMania 19 with HBK and Jericho, awesome match.
Amazing. I totally agree, and I think it's a little underrated. I think it's amazing. Agree.
Back of the baseball card.
Bruno.
Wow.
4,040 days. Madison Square Garden was sold out from 1963 to 1977. Sold out. With once a week at midnight, 1 hour programming. Sold out. Bruno Sammartino's back of his baseball card will never be touched.
So we've got a tie right now. Here's a tiebreaker.
Yep.
The it factor.
Bruno. Now, if it was the charisma factor, okay, this is not about charisma. This is about what kind of influence you've got on the fans, the response of the fans, the way you work with the good guys or bad guys, depending what your role is. Dude, you do not sell out Madison Square Garden for 14 years and not have it factor. Chris Jericho cannot say that he was world champion and sold out for his company for a decade and a half. No one touches Bruno.
Well, the Pharaohs have spoken, and the winner of head-to-head goes to the former living legend, Bruno Sammartino.
By the way, that was close. You had me nervous. I was like, damn it, there's no way.
We'll be right back after this commercial break.